Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday, May 27th, 2023. And today I have kind of a special channel. I had the privilege of being a guest on Linda Rontowski's show. She is a comedian and she's also a tarot card reader. So she does this great show where she's live show, like a comedy show, where she also reads cards for people and makes it sort of poignant and funny at the same time. And she's just wonderful. And she does a twice a year, I think, show on predictions of the future. And she has a lot of psychic friends. So she invites us all to come in and we each get a little segment and we get to give our predictions. And so I'm not sure when that show will run, but if you Google Karen Rontowski, you'll find her easily. So, not being generally a predictive psychic, that is not the kind of work that I do. The kind of work that we do here with the Psychic Sorority has really always been about focusing on the evolution of human consciousness and helping people to prepare themselves to make these changes that we're going through in life right now that we can all agree are incredibly challenging and getting more challenging by the minute. And so, not that I felt like I had to prepare for that, but whenever anybody asks me to do predictions, I always like to just kind of step back and, read a little astrology, read what other people are saying or thinking, and then kind of seeing internally how it fits with my own take on what's going on in the world. And one of the things is that with this Aquarius, I think it's Pluto has moved into Aquarius some time ago, not like imminently, but the last time that Pluto went into Aquarius in this way, I think it was like 200 and some years ago. It was the French Revolution, one was the American Revolution, and one thing that happened was the discovery of black holes. On her show, partly because I am at this time questioning a lot. I'm questioning a lot of predictive things, a lot of my own sense of what's going to happen, what the world is telling us. And of course, you can hear all kinds of different things everywhere you look, from the end of the world to the beginning of the world and everything in between. But I really felt like this is not a time to sugarcoat anything. I don't think it does any of us any good to sit back and have some sort of idealized vision of what's going on in the world. I think sometimes my sense is that when people are really predictive, that this is going to happen and this is going to happen and this is going to happen, that just don't know if we can do that anymore. I just don't know if making these kinds of predictions can be accurate. Certainly, the angels and the party have said through the years that it's getting less and less mathematically possible to make predictions. And plus, because we're moving into this time in this evolution of consciousness where we're supposed to be the ones who are in charge of the creation of our world. And so we are the ones who can allegedly have the power to manifest those things that we feel called to vision and bring forth. And certainly we have. I have manifested a great deal in my life using conflict revolution. I've manifested being here today using conflict revolution. This time, however, is about to get real. It's been getting more and more real, but I strongly feel like it's better to tell people how to prepare for something that may not be pleasant than it is to just pretend that things are going to be pleasant because whatever, fill in the blank. We're doing conflict revolution or we're praying a lot or whatever. I don't know. And I don't want to be someone that represents that I know those predictive things. This is the time where we are all individually being challenged to self love, to self care, to take care of our lives, ourselves. And that a lot of people don't know how to do that. A lot of people don't want to do that. They want somebody else to take care of them. They want someone else to tell them what's right or what's wrong or what's going on or what side should I be on. And if those people who are looking for something outside themselves in order to know what to do, then take their cues from those outside sources, I think that's where we get this mass formation. Because if we're looking to the voices of culture to tell us, oh, no, it's Russia, they're the enemies. Or, oh, no, it's this or it's that. And then we find a group of people who have those similar beliefs. And then we sort of band together like, no, this goes back to what Jesus said in Party of 12, the afterlife interviews. This goes back to the evolution of humanity when he was talking about all in the way back when we were cave people or primitive, whatever you want to say, during that time before culture had evolved, that people naturally and intuitively banded together because of their perceptions. So everybody who was afraid of thunder came together, or everyone who was afraid of fire were brought together because you had support in your view in those things. And because of that, these divisions then grew into groups that eventually had, they had signage and flags, and it became a world of associative groups in that way. Right now, those kinds of thinking and decision making, where you're going to look outside yourself and you're going to line yourself with that group who has the answer, and then that group has a something outside itself that is, it's either Trump, or it's Biden, or it's blacks, or it's white supremacists, or there's something out there that's the target of what's going to hurt them. And so then it means we have to destroy them. We have to destroy them. And what's really much more applicable in my estimation, and is that if you have these groups of people who are all in this mass formation thinking, it doesn't matter if you remove that top person, because you still have the body that's propping up the system that just will put another person in their place. Let's get rid of this person. Okay, well, let's find somebody else. Okay, now this person is in. Let's get rid. So it's this really convoluted association that is I think is what's killing the world. So today I wanted to ask the party, because I'm in that place too, where I'm seeing what's coming down the pike. I'm seeing it here now. I have fear about it, natural fear, flight, the polar bears chasing me. And I know that what we have learned in conflict revolution is for those moments when the polar bear is chasing you, so that you don't stop and sit down and go, that bear, he probably had a really bad upbringing while he's eating my face off. There's a part of our system that knows, our bodies know to run in that situation. But in these situations with the humans and the intellect and the voices of culture that distort our relationship to our intuition, it gets harder and harder. And the more that we liberate ourselves, I think the more that the energy reveals itself, right? It's been there. Evil's always been there. This energy's always been there. But the more that we evolve ourselves to be these, what Joanne called superhumans, who are not going to hide our bodies and our souls and the whole thing from ourselves, then I think we face even bigger challenges. So it can be confusing. It can be also the answer. But today, on May 27th, 2022, I'd like to ask the party some questions about this, about how do we face what's happening without losing hope, without getting caught up in the drama, without falling to despair, because I know so many are. And I'm hoping they'll have something insightful to say to us. And let's take some deep breaths. It's been an intense conversation we've been having. These are intense ideas. Remember that the majority of people right now don't want to go here. And oftentimes in life, I know it's worked this way for me, that when I don't want to go somewhere that I need to go, if I don't want to face something inside me that I need to face, that the universe will create an opportunity for me to see it and feel it and deal with it in ways that are outside my conscious thinking. So that's, you get sick, or you have an accident, or any number of things that change the course of your life through the adaptation of your body in a way that forces us to contemplate and reflect on the bigger picture of what this life is. What are we as humans? How does it work? How do I fit in? And so we will command that only the most divine light shine down upon you at this time, and the greatest good be present here. We want to begin by telling you that these are, in fact, unprecedented times on the planet Earth. We want to start out by reiterating what Barbara has said, that we are not here to predict your futures. We are here to help train you, first and foremost, to detach from the physical world, to detach from the three-dimensional world as the primary reality. After that detachment, that, by the way, is almost impossible, because the physical reality that you are experiencing is attached to you. You are attached to it. You cannot have the physical reality without your body. You can do what we do and sneak into other people's bodies to experience it and communicate. Without being attached to the physical world, you don't have that experience. It's the difference between dieting and quitting smoking. When you're dieting, you still have to eat. When you quit smoking, you just stop. So you still have to attach to the world. You still have to have a physical body that is projecting and perceiving the universe in your compilation of consciousness. The experiments that we have been conducting for all of these years have been showing us how much of our theories are valid and how much are just theoretical ideas that really don't work. And we do that determination of our theories through you, because we do not have bodies anymore. You with the bodies who are willing to participate with us, you're part of an experiment. We have never alluded to anything else, that this is a grand experiment. And it's a profound experiment to think that those of us who are in afterlife, who are in the non-physical, who had physical bodies, who went through what you're going through to some extent, are here not just communicating with you through Barbara's voice, and then consequently through your own relationship to us. We are here to inspire. We are here to educate and train. We are here to bring insight. We are not here to predict. You are the predictors. And when we say that, we mean every time that you sit down and do an experiment using our training, that you can predict the outcome after it happens. Meaning, in the science lab, when we start an experiment, we're hoping that it leads to something. If I do A and B and C, will that lead to D? And when I go into the lab, I can think that in my thinking, but it takes going into the laboratory to do A, B, and C to see if I get to D. That's predictive. After the fact, after the experiment is done, you can look back and say, well, I did get to D or I didn't get to D. And that should show you that going A, B, and C either did or did not get to D. This is all yours. It's not ours. We don't know. We think, but we don't have the laboratory except through you. And in this world that is getting increasingly more intense on every level, you have this gift of this perspective. Will you choose to use it? We are giving you some of the worst conditions with which to do this, because those worst conditions impact how you proceed. So in other words, back in the 90s, when we first started speaking through Barbara, there was always danger in the world. There was always evil. There were always people doing evil things. But humankind, as a rule, did not have the kind of self-aware depth that they do now. All of you here who are listening to this back in the 90s could not have totally comprehended with your body what we're talking about until you went into the laboratory to say, wait a minute, those crazy angels in that party, they're telling us to do this and this and this. And they're hoping that it will work out to be something, but I have to go see. And we have said from the very beginning, this isn't a stopping point. We are not the leaders here. You are the leader. You are the leader of your own life. You are the authority of your own life. And our intention, as we said, is to help you to be the most compassionate, powerful, focused authority on your own life. And that doesn't mean you don't have any kind of flexibility to listen to your friends or to take counsel. For heaven's sakes, we took all kinds of counsel with each other when we were alive as scientists. That was really part of what we were here to do, was to take counsel with each other so that we could learn and experiment and go into the laboratory and come back and say, hey, here's what my experiments doing this did. What did you find? And then that it grows in stature and power, those things that you do to evolve humanity together. There is no set in stone right now. And that's the good news, is that you have this extraordinary privilege to be here on the planet at a time when that change is happening. That human evolutionary step is taking place. It is challenging. Let's go back to the chrysalis of the butterfly. There is no butterfly to hurt. But when that caterpillar is driven intuitively, instinctually, to begin to create that cocoon that will disintegrate that caterpillar into nothing, into primordial soup. That condition that the caterpillar is moving towards is being done with a certain set of structure, a certain set of nerves and veins and everything that makes up that caterpillar. If you as a human were to consciously be able to create a cocoon around yourselves and then disintegrate, it would be horrible. It would be like throwing acid on your skin. You would be in terrible, terrible pain and going insane because you were losing your identity and your very life as a caterpillar. That's what's going on. And that's why everyone is responding as they are, because you're not caterpillars. You're not meant to build a chrysalis around yourself and then disintegrate your physical body and reconstruct it into something that's a completely different creature. You are here to dissolve the old humanity that is rooted and grounded in these patterns of war, these patterns of projection, these patterns of blame. And you're here to dissolve that, to become the people who are looking inward for the answers, who are owning their power, who are stepping up to redefine themselves as these people who are evolving into this new humanity. And when you take away the human element of this story and say there were no humans on the earth right now, the earth would still evolve. There would still be epic ages where the dinosaurs reigned, and then epic ages where other kinds of weather, climate, structure of continents and water. There would be age after age after age of change. But it's when the humans come into the picture that you create judgment. And so it's very easy for a human to judge something that is so horrible. And we're not even going to say anything to depict things that are horrible, but think of the worst things that you can think of that are pure evil. It's humanity that does that, not God or the creator or compassion. It's humanity, not the animals, not the birds, not the fish. It's humanity. So we are admitting that we came to this work with these times in mind. And one of the reasons that Jesus's voice is so important is because this time of evolution was begun as soon as humans began to emerge. It wasn't something that's happened 30 years ago. You've been on this evolutionary path the whole time. And when Jesus came and lived all those many lives, including the one of the crucified God, he knew that even the most evolved humans at the time that he walked the earth were not going to understand what he had to say. Not because they were dumb or stupid, but because this was a time where humans didn't have that evolutionary level of comprehension and vision and facilitation that you have now. So that didn't stop him from influencing the planet at a particular space time. He knew it would take lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime of humanity to absorb. And he came and said it in the most simplest of fashions. He didn't come with great scientific explanations or processes that people had to learn and undo the old and do the new in such complicated fashion. He started with love one another. Love yourself as you want your neighbors to love you. That's what he said. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you is one version of it. Do unto yourself as you want others to treat you. And from that will come that you will then do unto others as you do to yourself. Love one another. It's that simple. Then, but now it is a far, far more complicated world. Humanity is far more capable of going through this evolution than they ever were before. And yes, at the same time, it's also true the energies are rising, growing from your own growth. This is not an easy thing. It's not always a pleasant experience. In fact, this is some of the most difficult times on the planet, even through all of humanity. And you think about how primal and medieval humans were, how easily they destroyed each other in violence. This this is a much greater compilation of that consciousness of working for the good of the few at the expense of the many. And what we want to say is that the more that you can pull back and look at lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, we know it's hard to do in May of 2023. It's hard to walk down the street or deal with your neighbor or deal with a corporation or deal with anything while having this mindset, and more than a mindset, having this recognition in your body that you have been here over and over and over again. And that you who might have been living in the Pyrenees in 500, who were constantly threatened by marauding neighbors or armies, or threatened and afraid for your lives, for your families, because it wasn't really a lot of ways to defend yourself. Those parts of you are rising. Every life that you've had, whether you were the perpetrator or the victim, is rising. It's coming to the surface. All of that mathematical information that has been residing in your DNA is being released as the DNA grows, or the DNA is there. It's not growing, it's there. Your recognition in your body of the more than just the limited strands that you were told, as that is coming more and more to the surface, these lives are coming to life within you. And it is a very stressful time for the psyche. That's why we started all those many years ago, to help create a process for the psyche, for the unification of your intellect, intuition, and emotion. This is a monumental undertaking. And we want to say to each and every one of you who are listening to this that you have our greatest respect, love, and compassion. We don't know, like you know, how hard it is, but we know these are difficult times. And going back to what Jesus said, very simply, this is about self-love. This is about you creating for yourself an operating system that is going to take care of itself, because that's what survival is. Survival. That's what survival is. That you take care of yourself, that you watch over yourself, that you're paying attention for what the outer world is throwing at you in your body. It's not to be here to perform in such a way that makes you look like you're compassionate. It's much more about your survival and your evolution. And when you self-love and you take care of yourself, first and foremost, then you've created a situation where you can turn and face the world with that self-love, to give that love, because you cannot give love if you do not have self-love. It's impossible. You're just playing a game or playing a role. And that's what humanity is here to learn right now. And some of these most difficult situations are the best opportunities for this kind of growth of self-awareness and compassion. And as we say every week, we are here to help you, inspire you, love you deeply every step of the way. So with all of that said, are there questions and conversation?
Thank you. That was very inspiring. I have been wanting to talk to you about the bad guys threatening us, and that's interesting. It was brought up, that that's just energy, and so I'm thinking, well, that energy, it's we're all one. So I just feel like, well, do we need to accept that energy then, and how to be aware that it's really our projections rather than judging the bad people, to understand that concept of oneness, and that they're just a reflection, so that we just need awareness of that, and not to see that that they're different or separate, which comes from judgment, judging them for doing what they're doing. We're actually judging. We have to look at where we're judging ourselves, because that's what brings about separation. And then doing this work brings it back to ourselves, where we have that control and authority to do what's best for all. So I guess I don't have a question. I'm putting it all together.
The paradox to remember is that you live in a paradox. So it isn't one thing or the other. It's a whole picture of paradoxical situations, in that yes, your perception of the world is being projected and perceived by your physical body. It's projecting all of that energy, the capital C compassion that is your energy, out into the compilation and then perceived back by your physical body as the universe. So, yes, you are part of this bigger organism. There is nothing out there but what's inside you. Also, in your physical life, in your very everyday consciousness, there are things that will hurt you and kill you. There are things that will, situations, people, circumstances can do great harm to you. That is the truth. It's not a fault of you because something inside you isn't perfect. And so thus you're creating this external world because you're not good enough. That's not it at all. It's that it's such a complex situation. And much like Jesus back in whatever day he was on the planet, trying to talk as simply as possible, we've tried to explain these incredibly complex systems into a simple way that you can take and use to maneuver through this experience that you're having in life as detached and self-loving as possible. That's it. We could go back to it's all about love, but our intention is to take people like yourselves, who are the participation of the willing, who are willing to go past that and be the experimental body that's going to see, how do you maneuver through this world where people will kill you, people will hurt you. That's true. War is real. And you are these creatures who have a capacity to evolve past what you are right now, what you've been, where you've come from. You do have that. In 100 years or in 1,000 years, when you're back in another body, you'll be able to look back at 2023, and like we're looking back at the year Jesus walked the planet, a simple time. So having that perspective is so important to underlie your real life experience in the lens. And you're going to have to be challenged to make decisions in the lens, very difficult decisions. And even Linda, in your conversation about your neighbor, these are very difficult decisions. It's not the same kind of difficult decision as should somebody drop a nuclear bomb, but it's still, these are difficult decisions to determine what is compassion. Am I being compassionate? Am I being self-loving? And by being self-loving, is somebody else going to be left to their own devices? What we're saying is this is a time where everyone is being left to their own devices. And if you don't have some kind of system like we're showing you, or a system of compassion, however it plays out, that we think our system is one of the most in-depth and complicated explanations of love that there is. But there are no easy answers. There are no answers set in stone. Nobody is going to tell you this or that or this or that. It's, you are being left to your own devices, and we are here to make sure that you, the device, the human device, is operating as highly as is possible, is humanly possible. High in the sense of you're rising above the fray in the lens. High in the sense that you're able to be out in the observer and look down on the planet and see a bigger picture. So again, not a lot of easy answers, but when you take it down to one step at a time, you can reduce the complexity.
Well, thank you so much for assisting us through this evolution.
Thank you. We're going to close the channel by expressing our deepest gratitude for these conversations. This change that the planet is going through is monumental. And we have as little, if less, control of manifestation than you do. You have the bodies, you have the intellect, the intuition, the emotion, the skin, the organs, including the lungs, where you breathe in the breath of life. And what we want to leave you with as you go forth in the week ahead is to think about that breath as much as you can. Think about it while you're walking, when you're lying in bed. Focus on when you breathe in, that you are breathing in lifetimes of information, that the air that surrounds you is evolved. And as you breathe out, imagine as much as you can breathing out all of the energy that you've accumulated in your compilation, all those victims and perpetrators that you yourself had been. And try to, instead of looking outside yourself at the neighbors or the corporations, that you look inside yourself and you think about that compilation of your consciousness as that chrysalis. And that, yes, it's going to hurt sometimes, but it's leading to the evolution of humanity. And that is the ultimate self-love, is that you love the earth as if you were it. You are the earth. You are all those people on the earth. You are all the animals and the birds and the fish. It's all you. And you are in this chrysalis. And when it gets to be the most painful times, and we think really the pain right now is of the psyche. Yes, there are physical pains and there are emotional pains, but right now the pain is that part of humanity that is dissolving itself only to reconstruct itself into a butterfly, into that fully functioning superhuman who can watch and be amazed. Namaste.